We have a surprising Toronto Raptors update, as former Toronto Raptor Christian Koloko has recently spoken out for the first time since being waived by this Raptors team due to a respiratory issue he was dealing with, which kept him out for the entire season. And he basically addressed how his recovery is going, what he's doing basketball-wise, and even directly sort of talked about a potential Toronto Raptors return. So we're going to discuss that update, including a Raptors insider giving more details on Gary Trent Jr.'s future, and RJ Barrett potentially returning for tonight's game. So lots of stuff to break down in this video, but before we do, happy Easter to everyone out there that's celebrating. I'm hoping the Easter bunny's good to everyone, but let's dive into the news. So the first topic of discussion, the first thing we're taking a look at is Christian Koloko speaking out on a potential Toronto Raptors return. Now, the Raptors, they're desperate. They're trying to get some young prospects on this team, in the system, especially to close out this year, to see who could make the roster for next season, who could come in and be some decent pieces. And, former second-round pick for the Toronto Raptors, a guy with a ton of potential, with his athleticism, his frame, and the way he was developing on the court, from the start to the end of his rookie season. Christian Koloko just feels like one of the dudes I would have loved to see be on this Raptors group as we're sort of in this sort of retool, rebuild mode, and see what he's able to do out there with extended run with a longer leash out there on the basketball court. But if you don't remember, Christian Koloko ended up getting waived ahead of this year's trade deadline because he was dealing with a respiratory issue. And Shams revealed what it is. The Raptors kept it pretty private and silent, but he was dealing with some clotting in his lungs, I believe, or blood clot somewhere. So we'll take a look at the articles here. But he spoke out for the first time since he ended up getting waived by the Toronto Raptors, and he had a lot of interesting things to say. So basically, Saturday night was a celebration of Christian Koloko and his teammates at his University of Arizona. It was also the first time Christian Koloko publicly discussed his battle with a career-threatening respiratory issue, some blood clots, that has kept him from playing in his second season in the NBA with the Toronto Raptors. The respiratory illness prevented the former second-round pick from playing in the NBA Summer League this past summer as well. Basically, so his quotes went on to say, last month the Raptors waived Koloko, as we already discussed, but he said, Masai Ujiri, to recap some of Masai Ujiri's quotes, that his medical status is now in the hands of the NBA, and he can't comment on it. But it was a very tough one because he was someone that the Toronto Raptors really believed in, someone that I know has incredible talent and saw the future, saw as a future piece on the team. But they've exhausted all of their potential options there and can't comment on the specifics. So basically, the Raptors believed in Christian Koloko. They wanted him in the system. He wasn't waived because, he wasn't a working out prospect or he wasn't working out in the locker room, anything like that. The Raptors made some moves, so they really couldn't keep him on the roster for super long, and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to stay on that Raptors team. So they end up having to cut him. And basically, it's now in the hands of the NBA. And it stays private in terms of the comments on him, but it's really unfortunate because he's a player that the Raptors felt was a big part of the future, and that's a part of the programs that built in Africa. Obviously, Masai Ujiri with the Giants in Africa program, Christian Koloko being from Cameroon, and someone that they believe in the pipeline as a future talent in the NBA. This was a big one and didn't work out the way for now. So basically, Masai Ujiri didn't feel great about Christian Koloko letting him go, but with blood clotting, there's nothing you can really do. It's not like an ACL or something that it's a quick recovery process. There's a lot of aspects that have to get figured out to make sure he's healthy enough to be out there on the court. Well, Christian Koloko directly addressed this now, finally, talking at his Arizona sort of celebration. I believe his jersey got retired. But basically, for Koloko, who's now back living in LA, he says it's been really difficult. He's feeling good, and he doesn't know when he'll be back. Basically, this has been the toughest moments of his life. I've never had injuries or anything there this year, basically being off the whole season, so it was really tough mentally as well as physically, but he thinks he's built for that and he's going to come back stronger. It's tough, but at some point you have to realize that you can't do anything else. Just stay positive and try to recover. I just want to go out there and play basketball, and I love that approach. I love that attitude from Christian Koloko because, again, it sucks because this is not an injury where, if you tear your rotator cuff, you blow out an Achilles. There's specific rehab. At least, again, I'm not a physiotherapist, a doctor, or anything along those lines, but those injuries, there's clear kind of strength building, rest, a lot of things you can do to recover from those injuries. As an athlete Nice. Well, like anyone that's played any bit of sports had an injury, you know how to recover from those. Whereas blood clotting, I'm not sure the specifics in terms of how a recovery process. So, he's doing everything he can. So I like that approach there for Koloko, but basically said that he's still in the NBA's fitness to play program. But I'm progressing, he says. If Koloko was cleared by the fitness to play panel and ruled medically able and medically fit to perform his duties as a professional basketball player, he's free to sign with any NBA team. So this is where the sort of Raptors come in, because obviously he ended up getting waived by our squad. So what's the rules and possibilities of him coming back to our team? Basically, Christian Koloko is a free agent, so he can go, he's just at home and seeing what the doctors, and whenever he gets cleared, he's going to find a new team. Wherever it is, he's going to make that his new home. It's been amazing to be in the NBA. The NBA is the best league in the world, and you can't get any better than that. I'm grateful, he's grateful and thankful to be a part of the league. And the 23-year-old Koloko didn't rule out a return for the Raptors. He says, never say no. I don't know what the future holds. I could be back with the Raptors in the future, maybe not. I loved my time with the Toronto Raptors. They believed in me, they drafted me, so I'm thankful for them supporting me. So again, Christian Koloko directly addressed that never say never. He could be back with the Toronto Raptors. There's no bad blood about them waiving him, obviously to clear up that roster space, to make those transactions, to make those trades, but he still is very fond of his time with the Toronto Raptors and could potentially return to the team. So lots of stuff there regarding Christian Koloko, who again is just 23 years old, didn't have the craziest rookie stats, but played a lot of sort of spot minutes in his rookie season, didn't play at all this year, but is 7'1", long, athletic, and is exactly kind of the versatile center that I feel like the Raptors would want on this group. And he's also a guy that's sneaky, was developing a jump shot at 8% from the three-point line. No one's going to accuse him of being an amazing jump shooter with tons of potential in that area, but he was stretching out for a rookie center that's more of an athlete, shot blocker, rim protector. That's an encouraging sign that he was willing to take those shots during his rookie season. So does this mean Christian Koloko is guaranteed coming back? By no means is that the case. But it seems like from Masai Ujiri's quotes, as we just read, from Koloko's quotes they just read, both sides were very happy with Christian Koloko, the basketball player, his development, his progression, his talent, all of those types of things. So if he does get cleared by the Board of Health and Safety and the NBA and things like that, I wouldn't be shocked if this offseason we saw a potential return of Christian Koloko to the Toronto Raptors. But obviously, the thing that needs to happen first, and needs to get cleared first, and shouldn't be rushed or anything like that, is Christian Koloko's health, because blood clots are extremely scary. So wishing the best, regardless of if it's with the Toronto Raptors or not, for him to potentially return to the team, because he's a guy I'd love to, even though we have Kelly Olynyk and Jakob Poeltl as their sort of center duo here now at this point. I think Koloko is a guy with a ton of potential that could be a center of the future for the Toronto Raptors. So hoping for the best. We'll see how that all shakes out. But next thing we're taking a look at is a Raptors insider giving more questionable comments about Gary Trent Jr. because, again, Gary's a guy that a lot of Raptors fans I've fallen in love with over the past couple years. Again, he's very up and down, but his highs are very high in terms of scoring the basketball, but has been given the reins, at the close of this season and hasn't completely run with it. And in a mailbag question, Doug Smith was asked about Gary Trent Jr.'s potential future with this team, and he says, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure Gary has done that in regards to earning that sort of contract for this offseason. Basically, actually, he's had a very spotty season overall, and it's going to be tough to call for the front. It's going to be a tough call for the front office. Do they pay him $20 million US a year that he wants to hand off, or do they hand off the job to Grady Dick? Are other options out there? It's going to be a fascinating decision. As much as I can't read, I'm too far away from the screen right now. Basically, it's going to be a fascinating decision. As much as how fascinating it will be to see when it gets others out there on the court. I need to wear my glasses when I do these videos. But basically, it's going to be a fascinating decision for the Toronto Raptors, whether or not they're going to pick up Gary Trent Jr. here now at this point. But with Grady Dick in the wings, we're not sure what's going to happen with Bruce Brown. All the prospects that we have on this team right now play the shooting guard position. We're not sure how the draft is going to shake out. The Raptors are in an interesting spot with Gary Trent Jr. But I find it interesting that more and more Raptors insiders, again, the beat reporters, the guys that have their boots on the ground, talking to the front office and things like that, are very skeptical about Gary Trent Jr. comparative to the fan base, at least from what I can gather from the comment section, from Reddit threads, from Twitter threads, and all that. So we'll see how that all sort of shakes out. But Gary Trent Jr. is going to be an interesting sort of player to watch come free agency. And the last thing we're taking a look at is RJ Barrett potentially returning to the Toronto Raptors, at least in tonight's game against the Philadelphia 76ers, as Josh Lewinberg came out and basically revealed that RJ Barrett has been upgraded to questionable for tomorrow's game against the Philadelphia, and Mohamed Duque out with an illness or is questionable, and Emmanuel Quickly, Ochai Agbaji, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, Chris Boucher, DJ Carton, as well as Jonte Porter remain out from the team. So we're still a very depleted roster. We still don't have a lot of guys in the lineup, but it'd be nice to see RJ Barrett, again, wishing him the best. No rushing. The fan base is not pressuring him back, but the team will definitely look more watchable with RJ Barrett out there on the court. But let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. You guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Happy Easter. Cheers.